Hello, my friend, and welcome to Fear into Faith. This is our Miracles, Signs, and Wonders episode. I'm your host, Summer Day. Hang on for the ride because I have a woman here who doesn't have just one, not just two, not just three, but countless stories of miracles in her life, including dying when she was 10 years old and being dead for 30 minutes. We have in the studio with us Christine, whose last name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. Tell everyone at home what your last name is.
Baterbonia.
Baterbonia.
You got that.
See, I could have done it.
You could have done it.
I didn't trust my own self.
No, you did not, but that's okay.
Tell everybody just a little bit about you. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago, so Joliet, Illinois area. People don't know Crest Hill, so I say Joliet because it's a bigger city.
Okay. Born and raised there?
Born and raised there, and definitely grew up, you know, and I still actually reside there now.
And what do you do?
Yeah, currently I'm in customer service, but I'm also a motivational speaker for human trafficking, and I also go around sharing my spoken word of my entire testimony, all in a short little poem.
Spoken word of your entire testimony in a short poem?
Yes.
How short is a short poem?
It could be done within a minute or two.
Okay, well, we're just going to start with that. Go ahead.
Awesome, but I don't have it memorized yet.
Oh,
so
come
but I do have
on!
it with me today, which we could later on
at the break, we'll grab it, and then you're going to have to do that. I didn't know you had a 1 minute spoken short poem.
Absolutely.
So great. Okay. So did you always know the Lord?
I did not. I didn't get saved actually until miraculously at the age of 16.
Okay, at the age of 16. Well, we got to start back on your miracles. Let's talk about the first miracle in your life. I think it has something to do with you being born. What is the first miracle that happened in your life?
Absolutely. I actually wasn't supposed to be born. My mom was pregnant and actually had twins. So I had a twin brother with me, and who actually, she went and got tested. She didn't want to have any more kids after my sister. I have an older sister. And she found out that she was pregnant, not with one, but just two. So me and my brother were in her womb. And so she's like, I don't want to have any more kids. And she was very angry. And so she decided to abort us. But long behold, miracle number one, even from birth, the Lord tucked me up with his hands in my mother's womb. And several weeks later, she found out that she was still pregnant.
So hold on. You're going down this too fast. So she goes in to have the abortion. And I think in your story you said that the ultrasound only showed one.
The ultrasound only showed one.
And so she tried to say no, but it was twins, and they said, well, that must have been wrong. There's only one.
There's only one.
Because God tucked you up.
God tucked me up in her womb.
That's a crazy story. I've never heard anything like that. So there was an abortion.
Yes.
But you were still there.
I'm still here.
And then a few weeks later, she found out that had happened.
And she decided that I must have been a miracle, and she decided to conceive me.
She probably agreed that the hand of God, only the hand of God could have tucked you up and kept you safe.
Yes.
Wow. Has your mom always just felt like because of that moment there must have been a strong purpose and calling on your life?
Absolutely. And I think that's why she named me Christine, which is, you know, anointed one.
I did not know that.
Yes.
It's anointed one.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but she wasn't even a believer. I grew up in a Christian or God-believing family.
So even with that happening and her believing it had to have been the hand of God, she still kind of didn't give her life to the Lord or anything?
Absolutely. Okay. Yes, she did not.
Okay. And so you're being raised in the home. You didn't know God.
Didn't know God. Had parents who didn't believe in God. My mom, you know, she was Catholic but didn't really believe. And then my dad was an atheist. Okay. So leading throughout that, you know, I had an okay, you know, home life, but, you know, I wasn't really able to do too much because I had some complications just like growing up, you know, with, you know, health and things like that. And that goes into
So what kind of health stuff was going on?
Yeah, so even before the age of 10, which we're going to get to that story in a few moments.
Of course. People want to hear about this 10-year-old that died for 30 minutes.
Yeah, having a parent who, like my dad, was addicted to drugs. So even before, like starting at the age of 5, I even started drinking alcohol and shot up my first thing of heroin before the age of 10.
Stop.
Correct.
Oh my gosh. Because it was just left laying around.
It was left laying around. He didn't.
And we don't think about that. Our kids do what we do.
Absolutely.
Oh
and I was semi-neglected as my dad was full-time into his own thing. My mom had several health battles, so she was never around. So I was just a kid just kind of alone doing my own thing.
Oh my, and your own thing was shooting up heroin.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness gracious.
that time.
Okay, so what else happened?
Yeah, so moving forward, at the age of 10, is it okay if I go ahead and go there?
Yeah, what was the health stuff that was going on?
Yeah, so I mean, not much. I ended up having to go to like a rehab to get off of the drugs and the alcohol. My mom found
At
out.
10 years old, or
Yes.
this was before 10?
Yeah, before 10, because it was just an addiction. I needed to be in school. I needed to.
So you actually got addicted to drugs and alcohol before being 10 years old and had to go to rehab. I've never heard of anyone so young having to go to a rehab program.
And because I was able to, my system was so young and new, I was able to, clear up within like 3 months. Wow. So that's alone a miracle in and of itself, because within 3 months I was okay. I
That's
was
hard
back in
for a
school.
9-year-old just to live somewhere else for 3 months, let alone a rehab program.
Absolutely.
Were there other kids there? Is this a thing I don't know of? Like,
I mean, yeah, it was. We lived in like a duplex at a time, so there was other kids, but they, of course, the parents didn't really care.
wow, wow. Okay, so that happened.
That happened.
And then what was your next health thing going on?
Yeah, other than that, nothing else leading up to the age of 10, which we're going to talk about in a moment.
Yeah, go ahead.
So at the age of 10, right after my 10th birthday, not just nonchalantly having my grandparents over, everything, I wake up in the middle of the night and all of a sudden I can't walk. And so I'm trying to wake up my dad, trying to wake up my grandparents. My mom was in the hospital at the time because she was always in the hospital. I'd never seen her.
You can't walk, so you're like dragging yourself?
Dragging myself because I had to go to the bathroom at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I'm like trying to crawl to the bathroom.
How scary.
Very
to be
scary.
like, I can't walk and I don't know why.
No, and all I knew is I had a really bad headache and I didn't really know what was going on. And then all of a sudden, I don't remember after that, 8 weeks later, I wake up from a coma.
Wow. So you just remember dragging yourself room to room. It sounds almost like another story that I heard from somebody else, that they remembered something and then they remember waking up days later, weeks later, and finding out that they were in a coma. When did you find out about that you had died during that time?
Yeah, so weeks in, I woke up out of the coma completely deaf, paralyzed, and didn't even know how to read, write, or who my parents were even.
What? Woke up deaf, paralyzed, didn't know who anybody was, didn't know what, were you scared? Do you remember being scared?
I was super scared, and plus I couldn't walk, and I'm like, wait, what's going on? I felt like I was an infant because I didn't know what was going on.
Did you think you were dreaming when you woke up? Did you?
Yeah, and I had tubes out of my head because they were draining, so what happened is I had an aneurysm that burst, and then ended up throwing me into a stroke, and that's why I was in a coma for so long.
Wow. So what did they tell you about when did you die? So did you die, like, did you get to the hospital and die? Did you die at home?
Yeah, no, so I actually went through a whole year of rehab with a brain aneurysm in my head.
Oh, wait, so you didn't die this time?
I did die this time, but not initially. But so I went through a year of rehab, and when they were releasing me from the rehab, as soon as
a year, okay, I'm following you. A year later is when you actually died for 30 minutes?
Yes, so I was
getting... Oh my gosh, okay, stop.
Yes.
What? So, oh my gosh, you had an aneurysm that burst, they didn't know about it, in the hospital, you wake up in a coma. We can't go a year. You can't walk, you can't talk, you're paralyzed, you're all these things
so
in the hospital?
Absolutely.
How long were you in that state? When did you start to remember your parents?
It took about 3 months for me to start remembering everything. I learned sign language during that time, in that period, because I couldn't hear. And throughout that, they were trying to regain my mobility. So it took a whole year to learn how to read, write, talk, like all that stuff. And then once...
You were just skipping over all of that like it was nothing.
Yes, no, I know.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, I'm gonna pause you. We are gonna get to how you died for 30 minutes, but we're gonna do it right after we take this break. We'll see you back in a minute.
Losing a family in the line of duty is a heart-wrenching, painful experience that no one could ever be prepared for. The emotional loss can be traumatic, and the financial setbacks can be life-altering. Blue Family Fund is a nonprofit organization that exists to assist the families of fallen officers and first responders. Our focus is to raise funds for higher education, scholarships for dependents of law enforcement officers and first responders. We are here for you.
Hello, my friend. We are back with Christine, and she was just jumping over the part that she happened to have woken up 8 weeks later in a coma, found out she had an aneurysm that burst, and she can't hear, she can't speak, she doesn't remember anything, doesn't remember anyone, and it took a year of rehabilitation. It took 3 months just before you could know who kind of anybody was. You were saying that, and then a year of consistent rehab you had to relearn to read, relearn to write, and what else?
Walk.
Walk, talk.
talk, sign language, the whole gamut, and learn so even social skills and everything like that.
Yeah. You had just had to relearn everything, just like a 2-year-old learning how to walk and all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we can go to the other part. You skipped ahead so fast.
I know.
Okay. So now after that happened, a year later, what happens?
Yeah, so a year later, I'm getting released from the rehab, Mary and Joy, over where we live in Chicago. And I'm like, awesome, great. And all of a sudden, I start feeling weird again. And all of a sudden, my brain started bleeding. So they're like right as I'm walking out of this rehab. And they're like, oh, no, we got to throw her back into surgery. They get me.
Well, you didn't know your brain was bleeding.
I didn't know this at the time.
Okay.
But I fell to the ground and just passed out.
You fell to the ground
as I
passed
was
out.
walking out of the
Oh my
rehab.
Gosh. You're like thinking, this is it. This is the day I'm going
done.
home.
I'm able to walk again. So then.
How horrible.
I know.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
So you pass out.
I passed out. I find out through my mom and stuff. So they started.
You pass out, you wake up where?
I wake up literally 30 minutes after my surgery started. So if I can go in.
Hold on. You wake up 30 minutes after surgery started? You woke up in surgery?
I did not wake up in surgery. So to tell you what happened, my brain actually, the aneurysm bled and made me bleed to death, and I actually died on the table. Flatline gone.
Okay. Wow. So they take you into emergency surgery, I assume.
Absolutely.
And it bleeds out, and you die, and you flatline. And your parents are told she's no longer
She's gone, so they came in to pay their last respects 30 minutes after they pronounced me dead.
Holy moly. And then what happens? Do they body bag you? Do they
They allow the parents to come in to pay their last respects, and then that's when they take you to wherever they take you to in the hospital when you die.
Yeah.
But in that 30 minutes, all of a sudden, I felt like this darkness, but then all of a sudden, here comes this miraculous light, not knowing God.
So you remember this?
I remember this clearly, yes. Okay. And I knew there was darkness, but I'm like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, there's this light, and I see this hand just grab me. And the hand grabbed me, and all of a sudden, I gasped a breath of air, and I wasn't dead.
Like it was a white hand?
It was a white hand just grabbing me, and then all of a sudden, I knew I was alive. But then
Did you know you were dead when you were dead?
I didn't know.
You didn't know, but you just remember this feeling of like there's being darkness, and then you saw a light, like that infamous people say when they die.
30 minutes after, and all of a sudden grabbed me out, and I woke up, and then they put me in an induced coma.
Okay, when you woke up, were your parents there? Did they see you wake up?
They absolutely
like
saw me.
sitting there crying, sobbing over their 10-year-old dead child, and you wake up.
Wake up, they're like screaming that she's not dead, she's not dead.
Yeah.
And freak out.
What did the doctors say? They're like, oops, we made a mistake, or were they like freaking out?
They didn't know how that even happened because I was gone for 30 minutes.
And you know, they say like if you're even like, without oxygen or anything for like even, 5 minutes, you'll be brain dead forever.
Yes.
Clearly you're not brain dead forever.
Clearly not brain dead.
Hand of God, literally pulling. You saw the hand of God pull you out of death.
God.
My goodness. Come on. Wow. Okay, so then what happens?
Yeah, so they put me in an induced coma just to make sure everything was okay with bodily functions and everything, like kidneys, everything.
That just seems wrong. Like you wake up alive and they're like, just kidding, we'll put you back in a coma.
Yeah, so I actually was another year in rehab because I had to relearn how to walk again,
So you woke up, did you wake up the same way? You didn't know who you were? You didn't?
Absolutely. So it took me another year to be able to have to learn everything all over.
My heart right now for your poor mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't even imagine. And then my child wakes up and you're like, not what? And then now she doesn't remember me again?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah.
When did they tell you that you had died? Like, how did you find that out? How does one say, by the way, you were actually dead? Like, when did you find that out?
I didn't know that until 6 months after I was able to relearn everything. And they're like, yeah, actually, you died. And
Who told you?
My mom. My mom told me.
Wow. Was she crying? Was she?
Yeah,
like...
she was hysterical. She's like even from the beginning, like you were saved, and then now like somehow something happened where you're alive again.
You have seen the hand of God in your life. Hand of God pulling you up in the womb. Hand of God literally lifting you out of death.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Did that change your mom's heart for Jesus?
It did not.
Oh, wow.
It did not.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, so another year of rehab, relearning all the things. Please tell me you got to leave and you didn't pass out again.
Yeah, so as soon as I left, I still not knowing God, not knowing the hand of God, not knowing anything, not knowing that actually somebody was actually praying for me. Long behold, that's later in my story.
Who was praying for you?
This girl who actually ended up leading me to the Lord when I was 16 was praying me for the entire time.
Stop.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so you're 10 and this girl was praying for you. How did she know you?
Everybody in the school found out, like my school found out because of what happened to
Yeah.
me. And this girl was a Christian, and she's like, I'm going to pray until the Lord heals her.
And so she prayed for you, and then 6 years later is the one who leads you to the Lord.
Absolutely.
Because he's a God of order. That's
He
just
is.
too perfect. That's amazing.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to skip to that. I want to keep going on this. Rehab, was everything fine? Did you leave a year later?
Yeah, I left a year later, and as soon as here's another miracle, I walked out, and
Stop.
as soon as I walked out, my ears just popped right open. And I freaked out, I screamed, and all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can hear, and I just started crying.
Wow. Man.
Yes.
Okay, so now you obviously, you can hear, so you could hear.
Yes.
And now, how old are you now?
So I am now 12, going on 13, so I'm just turning 13 at this point.
Okay, and how many years since then? Like, how old are you today?
I am 35, I just turned 35 in June.
Okay, so have you not had any more brain issues or anything in 20 years since then?
Nothing. I had an aneurysm for a couple years, and then the Lord
then it
totally healed it after I got
completely
saved.
healed. Do you think even in that moment when your ears popped, you were getting healed?
I think so. I think it was a progression all the way up to 16 when I got saved.
Okay, so we got to hear how you got saved then. Come on.
Yeah, no,
How
absolutely.
did that happen?
Yeah, well, traumatic stuff happened between 13,
Yeah.
14, 15. I don't know if you want me to go ahead and share those.
Let's just talk about you getting saved.
Yeah, so a long story short, I ended up getting really depressed and really hurt by the church. So skipping over half my testimony and just really down depressed, I ended up getting involved in a satanic church with someone I was involved in. And this Katie girl, I'm gonna name her by name, the one who has been praying for me, hey, I'm dedicated, I want you to come to my youth group. Long story short, I said no to her, I bullied her because I wanted nothing to do with her.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you didn't at that time know that she had been praying for you when you
No,
were in the hospital.
no, not at all. And so she invited me to a Blackhawks game because, go Chicago. And she's like, I already bought your ticket, I'm picking you up at 7 o'clock. And I didn't like this girl, I'm like, fine, pick me up. Between the time I got out of school at the age of 16 to the time that she come to pick me up, I tried to kill myself 7 times and failed and jumped off the bridge, and Katie came and rescued me and still brought me to the youth group.
Can you just stop just going over details where I'm sorry, wait, what? So you tried to take your life 17 times? Sorry, seven times over a period of how many years?
No, just in that moment. The day that I was supposed to go.
In one day?
One day. 7 times.
And failed?
And failed. 7 attempted fails. And Katie came and picked me up underneath the bridge where the river was.
I'm just awestruck right now. I'm actually really glad that we actually have to go to a commercial break.
Yes.
And then when we come back, I want to hear about all 7 of these times and how God rescued you. We'll be right back after
Absolutely.
this. We are back, and we left on a cliffhanger when Christine dropped the bomb that she tried to take her life 7 times in a day and failed. I'm saying that's the hand of God for the 3rd time in your life.
Absolutely.
So how did you try and fail?
Yeah, so I tried several times. I even took pills.
Pills,
I tried to drown myself twice. And then I also tried to hang myself in a tree in my backyard twice.
And did the tree break, or how did?
Nothing. It wouldn't hold.
It wouldn't hold.
It wouldn't hold. Then I tried cutting myself because I was a cutter for self-harm at that time.
Yeah.
Nothing. And I'm like, I'm just gonna jump off the bridge. Done. Instant kill. And
Did you jump off the bridge?
I did, and ended up in the water. And I had my Razor cell phone at the time because back then.
Yeah.
And it was completely waterlogged. I'm like, why didn't I die? Why didn't I die when I hit the water? So I swam to the shore, and all of a sudden, my dead cell phone, and it was Katie calling me. She's like, where are you?
Your cell phone that was in the water starts ringing?
Yes. And
Miracle number 104.
I know. And Katie's like, where are you? And I'm like, I'm underneath the bridge. I just tried to kill myself. I'm coming to pick you up. She gave me clothes, gave me everything. And then we went to this youth group when I just tried to kill myself 7 times. Went to the Blackhawks game, didn't understand why people were just so loving. Came back, and the love of God hit me so hard at the age of 16. She's like, we gotta just make a couple announcements. And I'm like, okay, awesome, great. And so I sat in the back with 60 kids in the front. No one knew who I was. And all of a sudden, the youth pastor looked up and looked in my eyes, and I'd never seen Jesus like I seen that day. And literally, he called me out by name and says, "Daughter, I have a purpose and a plan for you. The enemy tried to take that from you," and just like started like speaking into my life, and instantly felt this love and gave my life to the Lord at the age of 16.
So good. Did you come forward? Did you receive prayer? Did you
Yeah,
get baptized?
yeah. So, well, that's another long story, but, but yeah.
I think you need your own TV show because you're going to need one episode every week just of a part of your story.
Absolutely. But yeah, 2 days later, they were holding a baptism, and the pastor's like, "I think you need to get baptized." And then miracles actually happened when I came up out of the water as well.
Okay, what miracles happened when you came out of the water?
So when I was in the satanic cult, this is going to shock you and wow you.
Okay.
I had a pentagram engraved and tattooed on my arm. Because I was part of the process.
Yeah.
And when I told the pastor, because they seen signs, miracles, people walking out of wheelchairs, everything, I told the pastor, "I want you guys to see something you've never seen before." And he kind of chuckled and laughed at me. Long story short, when I came up out of the water, the pentagram disappeared.
I've heard about this.
No longer there.
I've heard of this. I have heard stories of people that have had tattoos fall off, tumors fall off, all kinds of stuff. I've never heard a firsthand story.
Yeah, so miracle
your
number
tattoo
however
just
went away.
Christine, how much more do you need from the Lord to know that like He is after you and has got you? And you know what? You're on the enemy's hit list, which should have you rejoice.
Yes.
Like, come on, has He wanted to stop you for such a time as this?
For such a time as this.
Woo! Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm so glad you shared that story.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and 16, and then now you're in your 30s, and
yes.
Everything's like, was everything fine from 16 to then?
Yeah, I mean, I survived cancer. I survived, lots of surgeries.
I don't think we can be friends anymore. And then I was deaf for a year. Okay,
Yes.
survived cancer.
Survived cancer in 2015.
Talk about this.
The Lord, I literally had a dream before I found out.
Okay, you had a dream before you found out.
Before I found out that I saw this wing and it come before me before I got in an accident and I hit a tree. The next day, I was driving, a guy cut me off. I lifted off of the ground, ended up inside of a tree, and I literally saw a wing come in front of me so I wouldn't go through the windshield. They scanned my body. "Oh, you have kidney cancer, and it's stage 3 and almost 4, so you got to go on chemo." 2 months later,
Did they remove your kidney?
they removed my kidney, but it spread, but there was no other signs of cancer, and the Lord healed me.
Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh. So the tree saved your life.
The tree saved my life, because I wouldn't have known I had no symptoms of any sort of cancer in my body.
You're leaving me speechless, and I don't think that happens very often. Wow, so then healed of cancer. I hate to ask this question, but anything else?
Yeah, I mean, well, through the years, I had several other surgeries and a lot of
Surgeries for what?
just taking organs out of my body because, I really had a strong spirit of infirmity after all of this. And after getting a lot of healing and deliverance and things like that, the Lord just started healing me and healing my organs. Even, this is going to be shocking you, had to even have a hysterectomy due to my past. And He just recently grew my ovaries back.
What?
Just recently, yes.
Do you have documented proof of this?
I do, yes.
Oh my goodness gracious. So you had a full hysterectomy? Mm-hmm. Or just the ovaries?
No, everything was taken out.
And they did a recent ultrasound and the ovaries just are back?
They're sitting in there chilling.
Sitting in there chilling. What does the doctors say about this?
They said it's a complete miracle. We have no idea. And that's been my life story since I was born.
Yeah. Some people are like, I'm a walking miracle. You legit are the most walking miracle I've ever heard of in my life. So what do you think the Lord is telling you for growing your ovaries back?
Yeah, and I mean, I didn't think I could have kids, but I mean, this just makes, another miracle testimony story that just the hand of God is on things and miracles do happen today and healing does happen today. And I mean, I'm just a lowly old girl from Joliet, Illinois, and he's powerfully shown me that of his goodness, and he gets all the glory for everything.
Yeah, I'm going to say you're going to have kids out of those ovaries because I'm not really sure why else the Lord would just grow those back.
Yes.
Oops, forgot to mention my ovaries grew back.
Yes.
Jeez.
Yes, ma'am.
Unreal. That's crazy. Okay, I know your poem's
Yes.
sitting there, and we don't want to run out of time. So
Yeah.
this is your spoken word poem about your life?
Yeah, that I share around the world currently when the Lord opens opportunities to share healing testimonies and miracles.
Do you have like a website or something if people
Not
want to get a
yet.
hold of
I'm
you?
actually just starting. But I do have Facebook, Instagram, and it's called Redeem, Restored, Retold.
Redeem, restored, retold. All right, let's go.
All right. So death tried to beat me before I was even born. At even the age of 5, my life was being torn. Who knew that growing up as an adult could happen so fast, to drinking and drugging and having a stash? All happening before the age of 10 when my life turned upside down once again. Lifeless, paralyzed with loss of memory, death again is the only thing that I could see. Having to learn how to read, talk, and write, who knew after this I would only have to fight? Defeated death again, now what was the plan? From stroke to broke to being bullied by different clans. Loved ones exposing my eyes to the things I should have never saw. Pornography, lust, filth, and sin that should have been against the law. So where do we go from here, living a life full of fear? That is where I fell into deep depression. If I could have been loved, a daughter, I would have been taught a lesson. They said to me to get help, a counselor, a church, a Christian, than being manipulated instead of having an ear to listen. Church that totally experienced, that totally turned me off from God, then introduced me to a lifestyle sold to seem what like a squad. Vulnerable, innocent, and brainwashed for several years. Is this what love really looked like? And I couldn't even shed a tear. Witchcraft, voodoo, gangs, curses, pentagrams, and sacrifices that brought me to a deep fault. Wow, I felt so accepted, but there was still something missing until one day that church girl invited me to the church that I was dissing. Hockey, cute guys, at totally no cost. Death tried to get me again. Suicide 7 times failed. My life wasn't even lost. Why was I so accepted? I surrendered and gave my life to the Savior. Jesus, this experience was such a new flavor. Within days of experiencing deliverance, the miraculous and healing, coming out of a baptismal tank, my markings gone. I literally had joy to the ceiling. Now, how do I continue to be free from all this sin? It's not so easy. It's brainwashes where I've been. This God thing wasn't so bad. He helped me through school, catching me from what I had. Culinary, math, and Harvard, in which I can tell you later, at an Ivy League school, God saying, I've called you to something greater. God was calling me back to him. Graduating Bible college in 3.5 years is very slim. Always told I wasn't going to match up to anything. Dad and mom dies. My sister leaves. This life has so many things. Having to grow up so fast into being an adult, my God says, dear child, it was never your fault. Jesus always reminds me that my past doesn't define me. I'm called to save, heal, and set the captive free. Death tried through cancer, but still couldn't hold me down. Speaking life so that devil can get out of town. Statistics also say that I would never marry, but carrying Baterbonia as my last name is something that I carry. My story is continuing to unfold. I am loved. He gets all the glory, redeemed, restored, and retold.
Woo! Oh my goodness. So good, so good. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the next chapter in your life.
Absolutely.
I think God's going to just open really huge doors. You're a walking miracle.
Yes,
and I think he's just getting started with how he wants to use that for his glory. So
Amen.
thank you
Yes,
for
thank
being
you.
here. Thanks for saying yes to this project.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. I'm just blown away. Your testimony has me in awe. So thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for watching. That is all of the time that we have today. I pray that you are just as floored with Christine's miracle after miracle after miracle story, and that you believe that miracles are real and they can happen for you, my friend. We'll see you next time.